Let's be honest, is there anybody else better suited for taking on the title of best son? I don't think so. Sir Mordred is in the field. It's about to get busy. Starting off with Camelot, you had her speed dash against Bedivere in mere seconds. The story tells us that she was casually crushing through 1-ton golems at bullet speed like pieces of paper. You had the time where Chiron underestimated Mordred and ended up paying for it with a deep wound in his collarbone, showing a huge testament to her skill. She completely decapitated Selenite and just kept going as if it was nothing. And might I say, this is one of the best executions of one of the most useless characters that I've ever seen. 10s across the board. Her great speed allowed her to cleave through 2 golems at the same time, showing a ridiculous testament to her movement. She was able to easily cut through the binding chains of Semiramis during their battle. Back in London, she herself mentions that she can slice through thick steel with no issue. You ever get tired of all the weapons and armor? Feel free to get yourself a ticket to a Mordred cage match where she boxes those same 1-ton golems with her bare hands, breaking their arms off in the process. Keep in mind that all of these golems are Age of Gods level, and a golem from our age wouldn't last 2 hits against her. Being normal is for squares. When Mordred got her door stuck, instead of just getting out on the other side like a normal person, she just kicked the door straight off the hinges. Who needs a handle? In her clash against Astolfo, she had enough physical prowess to swipe a hole straight through his stomach. She is one of the only servants to use martial arts in a sword fight, making her very lethal. We saw her use this against Chiron and Bedivere. When she was still alive, she went blow for blow with Arturia, bringing the entire kingdom down with her. Despite the fact that Possession Siegfried had better prowess, he was still being overwhelmed by Mordred thanks to her monoburst. In her fight with Astolfo, it said that his arms were going numb just from locking blades with Mordred due to her overwhelming power. The story also tells us that her attacks were so brutal that his armor might as well not even be there. Just the release of her monoburst alone was enough to send Frankenstein flying at a great distance. She slashed straight through Sig's entire upper body before he even had the chance to respond. She gracefully held off the Great Karna, who we know is a top tier servant, and scaled a golem right after that. She casually went up against Possession Siegfried, who again is a high tier servant. With the power of command spells, she was able to survive against Semiramis despite her having territorial advantage and pierce through her spiritual core. She was making a mockery of Bedivere in close range combat. I would have thought that she was playing golf. In Camelot, we saw her knock Ozzy's entire vessel off balance just from running up the side of it. She blocked a surprise range attack from Sanzo with no time to react to this at all. Even when Sanzo extended her weapon to a massive size, Mordred just batted the whole thing away with one hand. What's really good? Just the shockwaves from her blade in her fight against Semiramis was putting craters through the wall. She casually caught the strike of a golem. No armor, no weapon involved. She brought her master down from several kilometers in the sky out the hanging gardens at nearly Mach speed. She literally diced through the phantasmal beast from Semiramis without even moving. This same beast being from the Age of Gods. She held back a surprise attack from the reinforced Spartacus, who was colossal in size, by the way. The story flat out tells us that Sig will be better off taking bullets than taking any blows that come from Mordred. Before she even received her buffs, she was already tanking blows from a command spell boosted Frankenstein. She tanked being dragged throughout the entire throne room by Semiramis during their battle. In her fight against Average Bronze Super Golem, Mordred's monoburst comes out so seamless that it practically allows her to fly. She was able to negate a command spell boosted phantasm from Frankenstein by combating it with her own. She tanked several laser beams and explosions from Semiramis and blew right past them. You had the time where she tanked the mental and physical agony of Semiramis's Hydra poison before she got help from her master, and she still kept going. Most servants would have went went down from this. Her armor was good enough to save her from a fatal wound from the highly skilled Chiron. She's been shown several times tanking Chiron's mana boosted arrows that leave massive craters in the ground. In Camelot, she does the same thing by easily tanking and avoiding shots from the sharpshooter Arash. Her mana burst is known for giving her an impeccable speed. It looked as if she was taking out golems without even moving. She was skilled enough to save her master from being assassinated by Jack the Ripper at the last second. She blocked multiple knives from Jack at the same time when they were right in front of her face. Even when she couldn't see anything at all, she was still blocking Jack's attacks out of pure instinct through the fog. And Jack was the one that had territorial advantage. You had her dodging Chiron's arrows to the point where he had to give her a compliment, saying that she has every right to be in her class. She was easily cutting his arrows out of the sky at the last second. Keep in mind that Chiron's arrows are reinforced and they're coming in at no less than several times Mach speed. In a similar fashion to Achilles, she caught one at point blank while he was still several kilometers away. She easily danced around Astolfo in their confrontation, despite her being the one with heavier armor thanks to her speed. We've seen her tactfully kick her own master out of Semiramis's throne room to save his life. This is madness. She blocked and evaded more than 10 of Semiramis's lasers at the same time when she had absolutely nowhere to run. She went head to head with Lan Ling at close range, dodging multiple of his fatal attacks. We know that her mana burst practically allows her to teleport. She was mindful enough to avoid a fatal shot from Chiron while she was trying to attack Jack. In her fight against Chiron, she tactfully ran up the side of a clock tower in a matter of seconds, scaling 60 meters in only 12 steps. She did this while blocking his arrows at the same time. The story tells us that she closed the gap between her and Sig in an instant. Thanks to her having such a high magic resistance, she straight up negated Jack's phantasmal mist, and she could see through it due to her instinct. In the London Singularity, she tells us her resistance can negate most effects, straight up blocking out Nursery Rhyme's spell. You thought Irie was dangerous behind the wheel. Mordred is out here dodging golems, Dragon 2 warriors, homunculi, anything that you got, she's ready. She used this same skill to effortlessly pilot a jet while she was targeting Semiramis. She nosedived the entire jet straight into her, forcing her to use protective magecraft. She tactfully threw her sword to one-shot a golem that was behind her. You have her instinct skill that warned her about the danger of Astolfo's lance. The skill itself is more like Eye of the Mind, giving her access to the best options at all times. She has an extremely high awareness, being able to detect enemies before Roman could. In Camelot, she was able to locate the village filled with Hassans, despite them being well hidden with presence concealment. Her mana burst has great versatility, allowing her to do super jumps while she was carrying her master. In her fight against Frankenstein, she was able to immobilize her with just one shot from her Bao Mung. You know what? Scratch that. She doesn't even have to fight the golems. Just the shockwaves from her speed and her power were reducing the golems into nothing. She overpowered the possession Siegfried while he was being boosted by unique command spells. She literally cut the colossal mutated Spartacus in half with one shot. If you think that her mana burst is a problem now, she can make it even stronger when she takes off her helmet. In FGO, we know that she was able to jump all the way from ground level up to the Hanging Gardens with only a boost from Frankenstein. With the help of a command spell, the story tells us that Mordred's speed, bare minimum, is on par with the Comet. She can use her mana burst to completely dispel effects on the environment. Back when she was alive, her battle continuation allowed her to stick a fatal hit on Artoria, despite her being pierced with Rongominiad. We even have word that her madness in battle was admired by majority of her comrades on the field. In the Battle of Camlon, she drove through a countless amount of soldiers until her and Artoria were the only ones left. She was skilled enough to close the gap between her and Chiron despite him having the advantage. Her fighting style is said to be mastered by her and her alone, so don't go try to steal her moves. In her clash against Astolfo, she wasn't even taking him serious. balance. Although it might look like she's brash all the time, Mordred is actually really mindful, still warning her master about Semiramis. The gift that she had exclusively in Camelot allowed her to use her phantasm an infinite amount of times. You have the unique ability that comes from her helmet that allows her to conceal certain things about her identity. The effect goes as far as working even when she doesn't have the helmet on, as long as she doesn't wield her weapon. The helmet was part of the reason why she was able to block out Semiramis's deadly gas. She had an all-out phantasmal clash with Possession Siegfried. Again, Siegfried is no pushover. He held his own against Karna for several hours straight, Mordred being the one that actually came out on top during the clash. The story itself tells us that her phantasm is the one that was superior. It was powerful enough to knock off his armor, which again is what makes him invulnerable to most attacks. Alongside Possession Siegfried, she was able to take down average bronze super golem, a feat that would normally take a solid team of servants. Just the fierceness of her monoverse and her phantasm was enough to break through Semiramis's defensive scales. In the London Singularity, you had her disperse the fog the same way that she did against Jack in Apocrypha. She clashed head to head with Betty despite him having Excalibur in Camelot. She tied with Sansa in the 1v1, forcing Sansa to put up her best phantasm in order to stand a chance. And then you have the demon god pillars from the Temple of Time, who are extremely powerful beings in the first half of the story, and she's out here one-shotting them. Realistically, there's only a certain caliber of fighters that can go up against the round table, and Mordred is no exception. Most of her enemies, excluding Sansa, had better buffs and better advantages, and they still lost. That just lets you know that she's not here to play around. She's got an unorthodox fighting style that would be very difficult for you to keep up with. She has her monoburst reinforcing her power and her speed, and she has a very mindful presence when she's on the field. She's someone who would make something out of nothing easy. We gotta drop my girl the B rank. All these servants are tough until Mordred steps in the room and shows them how it's really done.